Well, I had to make 3 trips to Vicksburg this week to unload things for our pageant in my car. We have that much stuff. So I decided to make the trip fun, and I went to some of my favorite flea markets and thrift stores every day just so I wouldn't get so bored driving to Vicksburg every single day. Well, one of my favorite flea markets in Vicksburg is called the Open Market. It's actually in the old Coca-Cola building, and it's actually 3 buildings together, it looks like. And this place probably has at least 50,000 square feet of open space. I wish I could get my toy museum to have this much space because it's amazing, but I'm sure it's a lot to keep up. But the ceilings are really tall, the place is really big, and it is just loaded and loaded with different vendors. And they have a little bit of everything. Now, most of you know when I go to the flea market, I look for collectible toys or TV memorabilia, anything like that that I can put in my toy museum. And I always find something good here. Now in this video, I'm going to 4 different flea markets and thrift stores. And what I'll do after I film at each one is I'll show you what I bought there and how much I paid for and what it's actually worth. Now this flea market is so big, you need to give yourself at least 1 to 2 hours to go through everything. It just depends on how fast you shop. Like me, I'm a pretty fast shopper. Like this booth right here, I always go to it because her stuff is so cheap. Sometimes she has really good toys for $1, $2, and $3 that are worth a lot more than that. So when I walk around the flea market, I can kind of spot things that grab my attention pretty easily. And I don't waste a lot of time just going through boxes or digging through stuff. I really like the staff at this flea market too. They're very friendly, but they don't really follow you around or bother you. They just let you explore and look around at your own pace. I saw these old metal roller skates that kids would put their shoes in, like clip onto their shoes. They were about $40. And I saw these little dolls. I really like these, but they were a little pricey. They were like $42. I don't really want to pay like retail price when I go to the flea market. I always look for a bargain, something that's way below what it's worth so I can make a little profit off of it when I value everything from my toy museum. Now this was actually my second time going to this flea market. I actually came back just for one of these hand drawings up here that someone made, and I won't tell you which one I got, but I'll show you the midpoint of the video because they were really talented, and the cashiers told me that the lady that owned these had them in her house for years. Then they also had this box of vintage Christmas ornaments. Now, I'm a big sucker for vintage Christmas ornaments. I always look through these. And some of them were, I think, fairly priced. They were about $5 and $6 each. But I did see this one little bag in here that had some really good ones. It had the little, like, shepherd children in here. And there's 3 in that bag for $6. So I think I'm probably going to pick that bag up. That's a pretty good deal. Now, I went here in September, so people are already putting all their Christmas items out, and I'm a big sucker for Christmas ornaments, but I have so many I have to quit buying them. Now, one thing I like about this flea market is when they renovated this building, they left some of the little rooms in the second part of the building, and they made little cubby holes for vendors, so you can kind of walk in there, these little hidden rooms, and see what all they have. I did walk in, they had a whole box of Simpsons plush, but I actually have all of these, but they weren't priced too bad. They were like $10 and $15. Had this really pretty picture on the wall. It's not really my aesthetic, but I do appreciate those. And I did see this really groovy yellow lamp from the 70s I really liked, but it was $50. I didn't want to pay that, but I really like that lamp. Had a Cabbage Patch Clown Kid for a little over $100, which his box was kind of beat up to be that price. Had some bowling pins up there that were pretty cool. Had some more Cabbage Patch Kids there. And then over here in the corner, I had this really cool Mickey and Pluto cookie jar, but it was like $125. Little Raggedy Ann and Andy vases were cute. I like the Singer sewing machine table. They had repurposed into a table instead of holding a sewing machine. And then I did buy this. This is a huge pewter, I think it's an ice bucket. That's what we're using it for, but I won't value it later because it's a gift for Ray for Christmas or Valentine's Day or something. So I'm just going to hide it in the closet for now. They have a lot of cool Coca-Cola memorabilia. They just have a little bit of everything. I thought these little plaster flowers made of plaster tiles were kind of cool. They look like they came from Mexico. You wouldn't expect that at the flea market, but pretty cool if you had the right spot to put something like that in. My friend Jessica collects these old historical photos, so I always appreciate those because I know how much she likes them. Here's just walking in the newer part of the flea market. You see how tall the ceilings are? Again, I'm so jealous. I wish I had this space for my toy museum. It's just amazing. It's my favorite flea market in Vicksburg, and I can just get lost in here. So I just made one more run through to make sure I didn't miss any little treasures on my way up to the cashier. I had a basket full of little goodies, so I'm getting ready to show you guys everything I bought here at the flea market. And I didn't spend a fortune, and I got some really cool collectible items. I made one more little stop at the vendor that has all the cheap toys. She had this cool collectible troll, like in a Canadian Guard uniform, a Mounties uniform for $20. I didn't want to spend that just yet. And there was a Popeye I wanted. And then they have these kind of boots that are just very tasteful, very classy. And then in Mississippi, of course, they have to have a deer head up there. So here's the checkout counter. They have that huge Mickey Mouse piece from a carnival that I love. So at this point, let's look at all the goodies that I found. Well, first of all, I did get that picture, that hand-drawn picture of Mr. and Mrs. Howell from Gilligan's Island. It was $60, and I think it's worth at least $120 or more. It's probably worth more than that if it was in a gallery or an art show, but the frame is a little bit beat up, so I've got to touch it up a little bit, but if it was in a better frame, it'd probably be worth about $300. Then that cheap booth I like, they had these Angry Birds. They had Bomb. He was only $2, and he's worth about $16. And then they had the Pigs. That was $2, also worth about $16. And then they had these cute Sweet Snackin' Littlest Pet Shops. This one was $5, worth $18. And then this one was $5, also worth $18. Then they had a different one, which was a Magic Motion Littlest Pet Shop, and it's worth about $20, and it was only $5. I got this cool little purse for some reason. It was $10. It's like a leather ice bucket purse, and it's worth at least $30. I don't know if I'm going to keep it just for looks or if I'm going to sell that at our flea market booth. Now, I bought these little Pop-Pops for $1 each, and I am going to put these at our flea market booth for $3 each. So I'll make about $12 profit off of those. Had some Happy Meal toys, Madame Alexander dolls. It was a bag of 3 for $5. And then the set of 2 is worth about $10. And then I'll sell the loose one at our flea market booth for $2. Here are those little Christmas ornaments I bought. They were $6.99 for the whole bag, and they're worth about $5 each. Got this cool little toy called an Egg Bod Tinker Shell toy for $2, and she's worth about $9. I had never seen anything like that, so I just picked her up. Then we all love a Buc-ee's truck stop, and here's some Buc-ee's air fresheners that were $2, and they're worth about $8. And then I did get those little Precious Moment heart-shaped plates. They were only $5 each, and they're worth about $15 each. So I spent $20 on a set of 4, and they're worth about $60 for the set of 4. So that's a pretty good find. I got this huge Minnie Mouse plush for $6 there. I don't know why I got her, just because she was so big, but she's worth about $12. Got this cool ceramic handmade Raggedy Ann ceramic for $6, and she's worth about $15. And then I got this, I think her name is Lola Honey Bunny, and she's a Warner Brothers statue. I think that's Bugs Bunny's girlfriend. That's hard to say. And she was $42, almost $43, and she's worth $50. So at this point, at the flea market, I spent approximately $200. So that's not so bad, because when I added everything up, it's worth about $437. So I pretty much doubled my money at the first flea market. Now, the second place I went wasn't a flea market. It was a thrift store, and it's a total junk store. You really have to dig to find anything there. Now, I didn't really film inside because there's a lot of people digging for clothing and stuff like that. And I just look for little whatnots and fun stuff. So here's everything I got there. And I spent a whopping $8 for everything. So you do have to dig through the junk, but they have really good deals. I got this little beaver or otter that we're going to sell at my flea market booth for probably $5. He's pretty good. Then I got this cat. It's a little blue cat. I can't remember his name, but he's worth about $6. I'll keep him. Got a little Coco Melon figure. He's worth about $1. Got this little pink car. We'll sell at our booth for about $1. And then I got this little Coco Melon ABCs book. It's worth about $4. It said $9 on eBay, but I think that's too much. Got this little cup stand that we'll sell for about $6 at our flea market booth. Got this little Victorian girl figure we'll sell for about $6. Then I got these two men Victorian figures that I'm keeping for my own collection, and they're worth about $14 for the set. Got this little Peace teddy bear we'll sell for about $4. Little Hello Kitty we'll keep. She's worth about $3. Got this little African American porcelain doll that was a great find. We'll sell her for about $10 at our flea market booth. I don't try to gouge people at ours. And these little doll stands and this little Halloween pin, probably worth about $1. Little ballerina we'll sell at our flea market for $1. I got this luggage strap, this rainbow stripe that I won't even value. It's for our luggage. And I got this cool big basket we'll sell for $7. So like I said, at this flea market, we only spent $8. And when I value everything up, it's worth a big old $69. So that's what? Multiplying our money by at least 8 times. So I just drove down Washington Street in Vicksburg. It's the prettiest street in Vicksburg. It's all brick and it's got a lot of historic buildings. They're renovating a lot of them, and then they've turned several into restaurants, and there's still a lot of shops. Sometimes when the cruise ships stop here on the Mississippi River, they let all their passengers get off, and I'll see them walking up and down the street shopping. And some of them are at the flea market I'm actually headed to now. Now, when I was looking for a building to be the home of my toy museum, I was looking at Vicksburg or my hometown of Crystal Springs, and I thought Vicksburg would be great for the tourism, but I would definitely want it on Washington Street, and the building we looked at was $1 million, a little bit over my budget. But that's some great touristy spots here. That mural they painted, this biscuit company a lot of people go to eat at. And then if you go down by the river, that fence is in the way, but this is the flood wall, and they painted several murals on it, and they have one of the Miss Mississippi pageant. And then during the summer, we have this little splash park over on the side for the kids. Now, this is the flea market that's down by the river. It's called the Levee Street Marketplace, and it's a great little place to shop. I didn't film inside, but here's everything I got. I got this really cool Halloween stand. I didn't know if it was for sale at first or they were just displays, but I bought one and it was $55, but I don't think I could get that much if I resold it, probably just $40. Now these were the deal. This is a Ron Weasley mug and a Hermione Granger mug from Harry Potter, and they were only $5 for the set. So that's only $2.50 each. And when I looked them up on eBay, their lowest price is $12 each. So that's $24 for the set. That was a pretty good deal there. Found this Melissa and Doug doll family still in the box. It was $12, and they're worth about $35. So that's worth about 3 times as much as I actually paid for it. Got this little bag of Minions as like Secret Service agents for $3. They're worth about $8. Then I got this cool Wonder Woman bank. She was only $5. I knew she was a good deal. She's worth about $20, so that's 4 times the money. I had to get this. It's a vintage Pink Panther bendable figure from the 70s. It was $12, probably worth about $20, but I had to have that. That was really cool. Got this little Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs jelly jar for $1. That's worth about $5. And then we got Kermit the Frog from the Muppet Babies. He was $3, and he's worth about $12 still in the package. Got this little plastic Wendy's football they throw out at football games for $1, probably worth about $4. And they gave me this little birthday boy pin free, worth about $1 or $2. Got the pink bug from Cars, and it was $5, worth about $12. Got this Dino Riders pack for $6. It's worth about $18. And then I got this Ann Geddes baby ladybug doll still in the box for $20, and it's worth about $45. Got this Star Trek 3D like hologram picture that moves when you turn it for $10, and it's worth about $20. So at the Levy Street Marketplace, I spent a grand total of $138, and it's worth almost double. It's worth about $265 for all those little treasures. And I was going to go to one more thrift store this week. It's called the Lifting Lives thrift store. And it's over by my favorite little restaurant there called Taco Casa. I eat there every time I go to Vicksburg. It's so good. So you walk in. It kind of looks like an old warehouse type building. It's just loaded with all kinds of little donated items. They have furniture, whatnot, toys, just everything, and it's very, very organized. One thing I like about this place is in this back room where they have the toys, they do these giant bags for just $5 a bag. You can get some really good stuff in there. So anyway, here's everything I got when I got home. Now this is one of the most tacky things I've ever seen, but I had to have it because it was so tacky. But it's this lady picking grapes, and she's huge, and she's a ceramic, and they made a lamp out of her, and she was $30, and she's probably worth at least $50. And then I got this vintage from the early 80s little plush. It's from Emotions for $1, and he's worth about $10. I can't remember what he's called, but I already have one of these in the toy museum, but I had to get him because he's so vintage. So now I have two instead of one. Then I got this Raising Cane's 25th anniversary plush for $1, still with a tag on, and he's worth about $10. Got this little handmade seahorse for $1, worth at least $8. I got a Hatchimal for $1. He's worth about $8. And then from Chuck E. Cheese, we got Helen Henny for $1. She's worth about $12. And then we got a little Minnie Mouse plush for $1, and she's worth about $9. Got this little ornament they gave to me free. She's worth about $5. And then we have this Coca-Cola tray I'm going to sell at our flea market. It was $5, and I'm going to sell it for $18. Got a Barry Manilow album for $1, worth $8. A Mendelssohn album for $1, worth $8. This one's worth $8. They were all $1, and they're all worth approximately $8 each. I just got this one because it had these celebrity pictures on the back, and a lot of them have already passed away, so I thought that would be even more and more collectible over the years. Beverly Seals, I think she's passed away. A very talented lady. I got that one worth $8. And then the last one, I got this one of Joan Rivers, also worth about $8. Got this really cool gold pitcher for $4. It looks like it's from the 60s or early 70s. And I'll sell it at our flea market booth for $14. Got a little dinosaur. Gonna keep him, give him away to somebody. Let's see, we got this little tiger for $1. We'll sell him at our booth for about $4. Got this big frog for $1. We'll sell him at our flea market booth for about $5. And then we got this little plush bear for $1. We'll sell him for about $4. I might keep this one, I'm not sure. It's a Chubbles from 1980, and it's worth $20. It was $1. Got this little unicorn for $1. We'll sell her for $3. And got a Beanie Baby still with a tag for $1, worth about $4. Now here's that giant bag of toys I got for $5. So I'm going to rip it open and see what all's inside. I know I got a lot more than $5 worth of stuff. So here's a lot of little miscellaneous junk stuff I'm not going to keep. I'm actually going to put all this in a bag and put it back at our flea market booth. And I think I'm going to put about $4 on it. So I got most of my money back for the stuff I didn't want. And then these little, I think they're called fidgets. I'm going to put those in a bag for another $2 probably. Put all these Mardi Gras beads in a bag for $1. And then this stuff I'm going to keep. The little Paw Patrol figure, he's worth about $5. The little Happy Meal Furby's worth about $3. Little rubber duck's worth at least $1. I collect those little rubber ducks, but what don't I collect? Then you got a He-Man from a Sonic Wacky Pack worth about $7. A Zootopia figure that's worth $10. And a Pocahontas that still has her boots on. She's worth at least $5. And then over here, we've got just a baby doll. We'll sell for about $4 at our booth. An Anna doll from Frozen we'll sell at the booth for about $4. And then we have a little plastic bathtub down here that's from The Princess and the Pauper from Barbie, worth $10. And this is one reason I bought this set. The little carriage of little people is worth $18, with the extra Cinderella being worth another $3. And then these Mickey hand grabbers from the Disney parks, they're worth about 20 bucks. You can see some parent back in the day bought them for $11.95 when they were new, and they've actually increased in value. Something I could pick the Mardi Gras beads up with. Then we have a little Mickey Mouse fan. You could clip it to a stroller or your desk, and it's worth about $15. That's a really good deal in that bag. Everything in that bag was just $5. So at this flea market, I spent about $72, and that's including that big bag of toys for just $5. So when I add everything up, the grand total was $344. So what is that? Almost 6 times our money? 5 times our money. That's pretty good. And including with that is the profit from that bag of toys. And if I was to break that down further, the bag was $5 and the stuff in the bag was $112. So if we add up everything we spent from the whole few days of going to Vicksburg, our grand total is $418. That's really not that bad. I have a car full of stuff. So when I pull out the calculator and see what it's all worth, it's worth $1,115. So we almost multiplied our money by 3. So guys, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, feel free to subscribe to my channel. I'm trying my best to build it up, but it's a long process. My channel consists of going to flea markets and thrift stores, valuing my toy collection, and beauty pageants, and some of our travel videos, because we have been traveling like crazy people. So anyway, you guys have a great week, and thanks again for watching.